I think he's just listening to a lot more overall. Um, Book Percy, sometimes I feel like would kind of just jump into things, and that was because he was so young. And I think
Mhm.
season one Percy was a lot like that. I would just say expect the books in that way. I think season three is definitely probably the most book accurate season we've had yet. All right, okay. This is not my fault. This is not my fault. This is one of the times where I've been like, guys, what are we doing? That was like a dream come true. That was my third favorite part of this press tour.
I've been wanting to ask you this for a while because I vividly remember when you very early on when you were first cast, you said at like D23, uh, like I want to try to be your Percy to everybody, and I that has always stuck with me. And I'm curious, in your time now, over the course of two complete seasons and midway through season three, what have you discovered to be the biggest difference between your take on Percy and book Percy?
That's a really good question. And yeah, I don't get, you know what, the reason I said that, and I think about this all the time, is just because, this was kind of the first massive commitment that I've ever made. So I kind of thought, and I kind of thought of it right before I went out on stage. I was like, okay, if I like say it out loud, then I have to do it. And I can't be on set and be like, okay, I'm tired. I'm not gonna like work as hard as I know I can. I said it so that like, when those days happen and I get really tired and I'm not trying to give up, but I'm just not doing my best. I
Mhm.
think about, okay, I told everybody I'd do my best, so I try to remember that. But the biggest difference between book Percy and show Percy, I don't know. I think this isn't really it's a difference, but it's not for any particular reason other than the fact that you don't hear my inner monologue. I think, since you don't hear Percy's inner monologue, Percy has to express himself in different ways. And I think in a lot of ways, he's a lot less, I guess, sassy. Everyone always says he's really sassy, and he still is, but I think it's really difficult for, because there's always these random quips in his head. I love reading those when he's like,
Mhm.
I don't know, just random little things that he thinks of that are hilarious and really sarcastic. But a lot of the times, like, he doesn't actually say those, they're kind of in his head.
Mhm.
And so I think what's been difficult is kind of, keeping that aspect of Percy, but also not just like spamming sarcastic comments all the time.
Mhm.
And I think, this version of Percy, I think is much more, I don't know, I think he's just listening to a lot more overall. Um, Book Percy, sometimes I feel like would kind of just jump into things, and that was because he was so young. And I think
Mhm.
season one Percy was a lot like that. Uh, but it's interesting because I'm filming season three right now, and in season two, Percy's like pretty cautious about a lot of things. Season three, Percy is like, it's almost like he learns to be cautious, and then it's almost like in a way he like forces himself to unlearn that because
Mhm.
you can't survive being cautious in this world. So I think it's like I'm really excited for people to see this kind of, this arc of like him learning to be really responsible and then
Mhm.
realizing that just doesn't work and then just kind of going back to uh jumping right into things, but with a little more thought.
Mhm. It's a perfect segue actually, because my next question is about season three. A lot of fans have been talking about what Percy's reaction to Annabeth's presumed betrayal in episode two means for the upcoming season three crash out when Annabeth is believed dead. What can fans expect from Angsty Percy next season?
That's a good question. I think, well, it's also interesting because Thalia is very similar to Percy in the way that she's
Hmm.
also, very sarcastic and very, I guess, sassy. But it's kind of, I don't know, it's the way I've been playing it so far is very, he's so like just locked on to that specific goal. Like
Hmm.
that's it. That's the only thing he's thinking about the entire time. So I think, the second that he watches this big thing happen, I'm not going to spoil anything for anyone that hasn't seen it, but it's kind of like, there's a little bit of a freak out there, but he never really, I don't know, I guess fully processes it because he just like the second episode, or that's kind of, you know, the next episode, he just picks up immediately, like on, like he's going to get her. It doesn't matter.
Mhm.
So I think that's kind of the biggest thing that I think. I don't know. I mean, it is exactly like the books in that way. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I don't know. I would just say expect the books in that way. I think season three is definitely probably the most book accurate season we've had yet. Just that I've seen from real just from watching it, just because it's been so easy to. I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure. No, I know. It's good. It's been so easy to. I guess the book is just like perfect to break up into 8 episodes.
Mhm.
So it's just really worked out so far, and I've been really happy with it. And so it's
Good.
difficult to like season three is like I like that's like all I'm thinking about right now. But I have to talk about season two, and I love season two, but season three just like if season two brings season one to a different level, I mean season three just brings season two to a completely different level. So it's like,
Mhm.
it just builds, and I mean, if we get a season four, I expect it to build in the same exact way.
I'm going to ask you about episode 4 of season 2. I've seen it. So spoil, and we're going to wait to post this until after it's aired. So
Sweet.
spoilers are okay. Um, so you have recently been on record saying that you think some fans have been reaching when it comes to Percabeth stuff, knowing full well that episode 4 contains the entire scene of Percy and Annabeth talking on the boat, and Percy saying the line, "It took me only 2 days to see how special you are." Explain yourself.
All right. Okay. This is not my fault. This is not my fault. This is one of the times where I've been like, guys, what are we doing? It's difficult too because I feel like I don't know. I've had to learn a lot about the way that people's, I guess, minds work from this job. So I guess it's like I don't know. I never would have thought. Well, here's the thing. It's like, okay, that's a good question.
Thanks.
I don't know. I don't think that that's something that he wouldn't say to Grover. I don't think
Okay.
that's something that he wouldn't say to Tyson. I don't, you know what I mean? I feel like this is like kind of like an overall. I mean, he's saying it to Annabeth, which is something, but at the same time, it's like she is special. Like that is her,
Mhm.
and I think you know, I think she would say the same thing to Percy. I don't think it's something that maybe she takes it that way, but I don't think, in Percy's mind, like it did take him only 2 days to see how special she was. Like it was like it just immediately he kind of figured out that you know she's very special. And
Mhm.
I don't think he meant that in the way that he was like, oh, like, it only took me 2 days to see how like amazing you were. I think, she's such a complex character, and I think
Mhm.
it kind of, you know, normally it takes Percy a lot longer to figure people out like that, but I think
Mhm.
it just kind of clicked right away. I mean, I guess, a couple days into meeting each other. So I don't know. I think it kind of it took him a lot long. It takes him a lot longer to figure out her than anybody else, and I think that's why he's
Mhm.
saying that because he's like, I think it's less of like it only took me 2 days to see how amazing you were. I think it's more of a, it only took me 2 days to see that I'm never going to be able to understand you.
So you have shared before that you and Arian have gotten vocal a couple times when you had to change something from the books. Can you share any examples of that from seasons 1 or 2?
That's a good question. I think the end of episode or the end of season two is it's a lot different from the end of the book, and I think even though I think it ended up, it looks. I mean, again, I haven't seen it, but from what I've seen, it looks amazing. That was a big thing for me because I'm like, and here's the thing, like a lot of their changes, like it's never not a valid reason, you
Mhm.
know? And so I feel like a lot of the times, the places that Arian and I come from are more like it makes less sense, but it's so much cooler to do this. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like sometimes, at least in my mind, I would rather go for the cool thing that makes less sense than the thing that makes more sense and isn't as cool.
Mhm.
So, and even if that, the end of when you're filming an 8 episode thing like this, there needs to be a big finale, episode eight
Mhm.
or episode, 7 and 8. That needs to be a big thing. So, in season two or book two, Sea of Monsters, it isn't really set up like that.
Mhm.
It ends, the party ponies come and save them on the boat, and then they just have another chariot race to celebrate. It would be very difficult to end, this massive season that has these like huge stakes on like a chariot race for fun, you know?
Hmm.
Think you know, whether they announce this, I mean we don't really see it, but there's not another chariot race this time. It's a bigger battle. And so I think that was one of the things that, and I think it ended up, looking amazing. I was like, it kills me every time they even like change a little line or something's tweaked a little bit. I'm like it just stresses me out so much.
Hmm.
But yeah, I guess it looks amazing so far, so I'm really excited to see how that turns out.
Okay, so on Threads, Becky Riordan suggested to press interviewing you guys to ask you about filming with the parrot. Can you explain?
Thank you, Becky. Uh, the Parrot in CC Spa, which the episode you haven't seen yet. Episode 5 came together amazing. I'm really excited for people to see that. But the Parrot. So in species, you see this in the trailer. It's not a huge spoiler,
Yeah.
but there's all these, I guess, different animals in her room.
Mhm.
They brought in this one parrot who was super nice, but uh, in the middle of every scene would scream like it would like shatter your eardrums. I like they started offering everyone earplugs
Oh,
because it was just random and it was so loud and it like really hurt.
oh my
Um,
God.
Especially when you're in the middle of a scene and like, it's really intense and then, you're really in the zone and then all of a sudden this parrot just like screams and shatters your eardrums. Especially because the room was like, it's this kind of it's this very, I guess, acoustic room, if that makes is that like a good way to does that make sense? I mean, it was like
Yeah.
it was kind of built. I don't know if they meant to do this, but like it like traps sound perfectly. So when they would
Mm.
scream, it was just coming off of every wall, every direction. I did get to hold it, which was terrifying, but I don't know. I'm not. Leo was much more into holding all the animals than I was. I held the parrot. I did it. I'm happy I did it, but I was terrified.
A similar question. Becky Reardon also posted recently that you and Arian thought of the both of you wear the wedding dress on the press tour during season one. How did that happen?
I didn't even know that. Um, I guess that would make a lot of sense. That would make a lot of sense if we did do that. Um, a lot of these things I don't even remember. This is like years ago for me.
Yeah.
For everybody, but like in my mind, like so much has happened.
Yeah.
I don't even remember. I that would make sense. I mean, I did express interest in wearing a wedding dress, so I wouldn't put that past myself. That sounds amazing. It was amazing getting to wear it. I don't know how Aryan did it for all of those days. It was really difficult.
Really, really quick, and then this will be it. How was playing Fortnite yesterday?
That was like a dream come true. That was my third favorite part of this press tour.
What are the first two?
First two, uh, I don't know if we visited this children's hospital. Is that okay to say? We visited
Oh,
this children's hospital, and that was in
that's so
London, and that was my
sweet.
favorite part. It was also the part that stressed me out the most. I was terrified.
Hmm.
It's just it's like it's a it's amazing that we get to, you know, that we make this kind of impact, and I it's
Hmm.
crazy to see that, but it's also like I don't know. It was one of my favorites just to see, all of them so happy, and it gave me like a lot of again like motivation to, I want to get back to filming season 3 right now.
Hmm.
I also want Christmas, but it just kind of it made me want to do even better and like work even harder.
Hmm.
And then second was, I guess I got to see Joe Keery and Gaten Matarazzo at at Good Morning America the other day.
Mm.
That was the craziest thing ever. I walked in to say hi, um, and I mean, I'd met Gaten before, I met Joe before, and they were so nice and they were so awesome. But it was like, I don't know, it was really hard to act like I wasn't freaking out. Uh,
Hmm.
because, almost every single actor on our show is like inspired by Stranger Things to start acting.
Hmm.
So that's like, you know, it was insane that I was just in the same room as them and I was just like a normal dude there. They were like, "What's up?" And I was like, "Hey, how are
That's
you?
awesome.
Good to see you." Uh, so I guess, yeah, that was. that was like a, I don't know. I always say this. My favorite part of, um, I've always said before this, my favorite part of filming, or of, like, I guess just like being in this industry so far, was
Mhm.
going to that Stranger Things premiere, season 4, and just like just being there and seeing everybody.
Mhm.
That was like that's still like I don't I'll never beat that feeling ever. Um, but yeah, and then third, again, these are all pretty close together. I guess the first one's pretty, you can't really beat that. But the last two, like, and then playing Fortnite with Nick A30 and then Courage, like, that's like, my brother and I used to watch them when I was like 12 years old.
Mhm.
So it's like, it's insane to me that this is like a thing. Like, I just played Fortnite with them on a Percy Jackson island. And we were looking at my NPC in the game. It's like ridiculous.